Find the perimeter of the following figure. And the figure we see a right triangle and a semicircle here. Now you're going to be careful with this, right? When it says the perimeter just means the outside, right? So when you're walking along the boundary. So let's say we start at this point here or one corner here, and we want to find just this distance, okay, as we walk around or outside of this. Okay, so we don't want to count this length in the perimeter. Now you got to be careful though, because we actually do need to calculate this, because this length or this leg of the triangle is equal to the diameter of this circle. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Right? How are we going to find this length? Well, let's take a look. Okay, let me redraw this. Okay, so we know that this is a right triangle. This is 9 inches right here, and this is 15 inches, right? So how are we going to figure out what that length is? Well, we can just use the Pythagorean theorem, right? We know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, I'm going to use x to be the b value here, right? So 9 squared plus x squared is equal to 15 squared. And we should be able to solve this one, right? So 81 plus x squared is equal to 225. And when I subtract the 81 here to both sides, I get x squared is equal to 144. Okay, so lastly, when I take the square root of both sides here, okay, so the square root of x squared, the square root of 144 here, right, I get x is equal to 12. So that is this length here, which means that this length is 12. Now remember, we don't add the 12 when we find the perimeter, right? But we need to find it because we want to find the circumference of the circle. All right, let's take a look here. Right, the circle here, in this case, we know that the diameter is 12. Okay, and remember the diameter is the length across. Okay, so if the diameter is 12, that means the radius is half of that. Okay, now the circumference of a full circle is 2 pi r, but we're not finding the circumference of a full circle, right? This is a semicircle. So let's go ahead and divide that by 2. Okay, so the circumference here is going to equal pi times r. And in this case, we have to use the radius, which is 6. Okay, so if I do 3.14, okay, times 6, okay, that gives me 18.84 inches. Right? So that is the distance around the circle just from here to here, right? Just from here to here. So now let's take a look. The final answer then should be what? We want this length, which is just 18.84. But we also have to add the 9 plus the 15, right? Plus 9 plus 15. And adding all these together should give us the answer that we want, right? We want the circumference. So 42.84 inches. Hey, remember, there's a lot of tiny little things you have to remember. Okay, we do not count this length as the perimeter. Now we do have to find it though, because we want to find the circumference. Okay, but remember, 12 is the diameter, so 6 is the radius. Also, the circumference of a full circle is 2 pi r, but because we have a semicircle, okay, we have to divide that formula by 2. And by plugging in 6, okay, we are able to calculate the circumference, which is just the distance from here to here, right? Just this half circle. Okay, so make sure you read the question carefully. Differentiate between the diameter and the radius, right? A full circle, a semicircle, and make sure you add only the appropriate values that you need.